so he could come back and be here to honor Joe Weider. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Gaspari.
What can I say? When you look at the accomplishments of Joe Weider, he was bigger than life. And my experiences with Joe is that I could see him as a caring man. And a guy with so much passion for the sport of bodybuilding, that anyone with that same passion, he was there to help that person to succeed. My personal experience as a bodybuilder, he was there for me, and I was this young kid to be able to meet Joe, the guy that I read about in the magazines, and see him there in his office. He just made you feel calm, and he didn't make me feel like, although he was this great man, he was just Joe. And the things he did, like to take the time out to give me tips on training or the tips on posing, he wanted to do that so that he could help me succeed to be a great champion bodybuilder. He was more than just a guy who promoted me in his magazines. He was a man who taught me about branding. He taught me that through his magazines he could promote me to become this world champion, that I could make a living as a professional bodybuilder. I was traveling all over the world doing exhibitions and seminars. He told me about the mail order business that I did. I started selling my videotapes, my booklets, all these things that I had this lifestyle, becoming this professional bodybuilder. And I did this through, what Joe Weider gave to me. He was the type of man, with a biblical quote of, you can give a man a fish he can eat for a day, but you teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. And that was Joe. He believed bodybuilders were the hardest training athletes, from their intense training to their disciplined dieting. He always said to me, if you use these attributes in life, you're bound to be successful. What really impressed me about Joe is that here was a man who had this huge empire in magazines, supplements, equipment, and there he was at the photo shoots for the cover shots. He was there personally to give that perfection and that Joe Weider perfection to be in that cover. Later on in life, when I no longer competed, I talked to Joe, occasionally, and we stayed in touch, and he knew about my ups and downs. But about 3.5 years ago, I asked Charlotte Parker if I could do an interview with Joe for my company, Gaspari Nutrition, and Joe accepted. And what brought a tear to my eyes, there I got to see Joe, in his office, Woodland Hills. And although Joe was older, to me, he was still larger than life. And the one thing I wanted to do is, there I was, I go up to Joe and I say, Joe, I want to tell you what I'm doing now. He stopped me, and I'm going to imitate Joe, because, what else can imitate his voice? He goes, Richie, I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm so proud of you. And this is just the beginning. You have so much more that you're going to do with what you're doing now. I said, wow. He didn't say this to me in the height of my career as a professional bodybuilder. He said this to me after long retired, I hit rock bottom, then came back up and built, my successful company, Gaspari Nutrition. He didn't say this. He knew all the things that I pulled off, but he also knew the struggles I had, from injuries that had me retire early to my bankruptcy. He was a friend of mine the whole time, and a lot of other people with less, have done a lot less, have written me off, or they stopped taking my phone calls, but not Joe. He was always there. And when he told me how proud he was of me, it felt like confirmation that any hardships that I overcome were well worth it. He recognized that I was the same man, and I guess he knew more than what I had inside of me, that in good times and bad, that I was a fighter. Next to my dad, I can't think of anyone else whose words of respect and blessing meant more to me than Joe's. Joe has touched me, and he'll always be in my heart, in my memories. Thank you, Joe.